Welcome to Digiments Lesson 2, How to Use Gradients on Your Digiments. This video is helpful if you have watched Lesson 1, How to Change the Color of Your Digiments, since we'll be working basically from what you've learned in that video. So, in Photoshop, we are going to open up a new document. File, New Document. Going to keep it at your standard letter size sheet of paper, and we are going to use the paintbrush Digiment that we had used from the last video. So, in order to change the color of your gradient, instead of just taking your paintbrush of your Digiment and just putting it on the piece of paper, we are going to, like so, we are going to put it on its own layer. And for those of you who haven't used Photoshop all that much, basically undo that. Start with your fresh palette here. You can also use the history palette for those of you who don't know about this or haven't seen it. If you go to Window, History, it's basically a showing of exactly what you've done to your document. So whenever you change the colors on major things, whenever you add layer properties, it'll show you that you've done it here. And if you wanted to undo a couple options, you just click on what option it is and it'll show you that. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer for this document. So down in your Layers palette, once again, if you don't see that on your screen, make sure you go to Windows, Layers, or F7 for most Photoshops. And right next to the little trash box in the corner, you'll see there's a little icon that looks like a Post-it note. So you click on that, and then I'll create a new layer. And if you notice, this new layer has a little checkerboard in the little square. That means it's transparent. So if you ever get digital images and they have that little checkerboard behind them on your screen, that means it has a transparent background. So, because this has a transparent background, we can do things to it and change what's underneath it without changing the actual object itself. So, with that layer selected, we are going to go back and get our paintbrush of our Digiment to the size that we want it. And we got to make sure that this is the color we want it. Green sounds okay. And I'm going to put it on the page. So, in order to make a gradient of this, you will notice that if I have that layer selected with the Digiment on it, it's showing me a little squares around it. That's because it's showing me the transform corners. Now I can resize this, make it bigger, smaller, stretch it, what I want, by moving those little corners, but I don't have to. So I don't want to see that, so I'm just going to check that box off, just so I don't have to worry about it. Anyways, so just put the gradient on it, you double click to the right of that layer. So basically right above where your opacity, well, right below where your opacity and fill settings are. So you double click, and you will see your layer styles. Now there's a lot of different options in here that I'm not going to go over. You can play around with on your own, such as drop shadow, bevel, and embossing. But we're just going to cover the gradient portion of this. So, third from the bottom, you will notice gradient overlay. So you're just going to check that. And if you notice in your previews, if you have your preview checked over here, that it has switched to this fade to white. If you click on the actual word gradient overlay, it'll take you to the gradient options. And here you'll notice that your gradient is black to white. Now I don't really want that, so you double click on that and it'll show you the presets. Now you can change it to blue, green to white, or purple to orange. These are some of the presets that you can go through and use if you like those. Now I want to make my own preset, so I'm just going to click on one of these. And down here you'll notice that there's these little boxes next to your color. So the options, the little boxes down at the bottom, are the colors that you're fading to and from. So I want to change this color, so you double click on the color box, and you can also, if you click on it once, you can double click on this color box and it'll bring you the same color picker option. So I'm going to change this to a blue and press OK. And I'm going to change where the white is to a different color. So do the same option, double click, or double click here. And I'm going to put this to red. Press OK. And you'll notice that in between it becomes this purple color. Blue and red make purple. So when it fades together, it creates that. Now in this option, you can also use the color midpoint by scrolling it back and forth and changing how much of one color you want. Let's say you wanted more blue than red, so you could change your midpoint and it'll fade much more of that color and only a little bit of that top color. Now you can change it the other way, or you can keep it in the middle. So for now we're just going to keep it in the middle. Press OK. Now you can also save that gradient option by pressing save, and you could save it in your gradients, but we're not going to go over that. So for now, just press OK. Now in your gradient overlay, there's a bunch of different options for that. They have opacity, so let's say you only wanted a little bit of that over your main color. You can change the style. Radial, which starts from the center. Reflected. There's a bunch of different options here. So we're just going to stick with linear. You can also change the angle by just clicking in your little circle. If you remember geometry class, that's what it's like. Just 30-degree angles, 40-degree angles. That's the direction in which the gradient is starting. So we're just going to start ours at 90. You can also change the scale by moving your scale option back and forth. And that determines how much is fading. If it's all the way down at the bottom scale, you'll notice that there's not a whole lot of blend in between. It mostly goes from one color to the other with just a hint of blend in between. But if you bring it to the other option, it's mostly blended. So once you pick how you want it, press OK. And that is your gradient. Pretty simple. Now, if you wanted to change the gradient of the background, you can do a couple options, as I will show you now. First, to get rid of your gradient, an easy way is once you do an option, a layer option onto that, there's a little arrow you can click down and it'll show you the different effects that you've done. So you can turn that off and it brings you back to your color. Now if you wanted to change this to just a single color, if you realized, oh, I like how this is, but I don't like the color I put on and I don't want to re-put the paintbrush on the page, you can do it in a layer option. So double click your layer effects and unclick your gradient and go to the one above it, color overlay. And here you can change your color to whatever color you would like. So we're going to do it this pink color. Rosy pink. So there you go. That's that color. In the next video, I will show you how to change the background behind your Digiment, changing the color, and seeing how you can print on various colors and how to determine how your Digiment will look on those colored backgrounds. Stay tuned. Bye.